Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Interior Strategies 3, 2, 1 to fly again. This is going to be an interactive time, 1 hour approximately, where we're going to come together to reflect on how we are and how we can fly. Get those wings out and fly again. Good. Okay. So the first part of the strategies, this first part is an analysis and reflection. How am I dealing with what is going on in my life individually? And how am I dealing with what is going on collectively? How do I feel? What emotions have been coming up for me? This is the first part. We're going to explore some philosophies, and then I'm going to have a very special time where we're going to have something called a breakout room, where we're going to speak to one another about our experiences and want to express to the other people there, and we're going to come together as a group to look at that. The 2 section is about creativity. How can I turn this situation of stress, of trauma, collective trauma, of difficulties, of being enclosed? How can I create out of this? And how can I make it a positive time for me mentally and emotionally? So that's the second part. And 1 is about the vision, the dristi, the vision in Sanskrit, dristi. And this is about creating a vision through a meditation experience. 3, 2, and 1. At any moment, if you have a question, you have a comment, I invite you all to write it there in the chat room there. And really, for me, I just want to say thank you so much for making this time. It makes me very, very happy to see all my friends and to see people there. And it makes me know and feel that we're really together, even though we're distances apart and in different situations. In these moments, thank goodness, thank the goddess, I'm going to say, for the technology that we can be together, okay? So let's go straight into the workshop, dear friends. And I want for you to do a little bit of reflecting now. What are the emotions that have been going up inside of me? And they may have been strong ones. They may have been concern, anxiety, fear. They may have been positive emotions, understanding that this is a way for us as humanity to come together. There are myriads of emotions that we could have been experiencing. And what do you feel today? Where do you find yourself today in your mind and in your heart? And if you have a piece of paper and a pen close by, that would be good, because we're going to be doing some creative writing. Yes, that's right, creative writing. Okay, so in this creative time together, we're going to be interacting. That's important for me. We don't just want to listen to Lakshmi talking for 1 hour. We want to be engaged. We want to flow together. We want to make an interactive experience, right? So that we can actually feel that we're transforming in this hour. So let's look now and see, how has this experience affected me? Wow, I don't know about you all, but I have been enclosed in my home now for 3.5 weeks. We can go out very sporadically just to buy food. And I know that in other parts of the world, there are very strict rules as well. And I think that it's a collective security for us all. But this in some ways is like shining a bright light into our mind and our heart, isn't it? A bright light, an intense light, where sometimes it feels like, very nice, I'm in my home and I've been activating myself or cleaning or organizing or working in different ways. Sometimes we feel even hyperactive in our home, all of a sudden we're in our home and that's the only place we can be in apart from sporadic outings. So how has this affected? So we're going to do a little exercise now, and I'm going to write down these questions here for you also. What is arising in me right now? What is arising in me right now? Can you write down your answer? And these are private answers for you. What is arising in me right now? That can be emotions, it can be thoughts. And what new thoughts have come to me during this experience? What new thoughts have come to me during this experience? Great. So take your time. We're going to take a few minutes now. Think about all the different emotions. It's kind of a roller coaster of emotions sometimes. Huh? When you're ready, you can put up your hand, okay? Just like in school, okay? Take your time. There's time. We have time. So connecting with yourself, being very serious and sincere. Great. I'm going to give you one more minute. Perfect. Okay, how we doing? Good? Great, great. It warms my heart to see you and feel you. Feel you, people who I can't see, but I know that you're there. Okay, all right, so interesting, no, to take this time to reflect what's going on inside of me. And all of our emotions are important. They are an intelligence that is coming up inside of us, telling us something's right or something's not right, or how do I react in relationship with this. And it's important that we allow the emotions to flow inside of us, and also to give contention to these emotions. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. So in ancient times, we have read about the importance of going on retreat, right? All the different contemplative traditions make a calling about making time to go on retreat, of leaving our normal lives and our normal responsibilities and our household chores and all those wonderful things we love doing at home, and literally taking our minds to a retreat. And this retreat is where we concentrate on what? The inner reality. We have this opportunity. I know that for some of us, we continue to work from home, correct? But for others of us, we find ourselves with a lot of time in our homes. And so how can we create from this time when we have to be in our home? Let's see if we can take some wisdom from the Tibetan Buddhism, specifically the Vajrayana tradition. Now, the Vajrayana tradition is one of the bastions of the ancient tantric philosophies. And essentially, what are we going to take from these philosophies? A concept now that through any action, breathing, eating, walking, any action whatsoever, we can transcend, illuminate ourselves, and we can free ourselves. It's the most extraordinary concept. And ever since this discovery of this concept, people have been saying, that's a fantastic theory, but I just don't get the practical part of this. So we're going to look today about the how to make that every action that I do, I'm going to create an opportunity for me to be even more free. But what does this entail for some of us that we have investigated, contemplated, studied, and meditated on this truth? What have we found? That it comes up to the nature of the mind. The nature of our mind, the quality of my mind self, is the captain of my ship, no matter where I am or what I am doing. If my mind is full, if my mind is stressed, if I have many thoughts, if I'm going in 3 directions and trying to perform one action, it's going to be very, very difficult. So let's see how together we can reinforce, because I know that lots of people who are here today actually are very familiar with these concepts. So let's see if we can refresh. Let's see if we can inspire ourselves again. Because for me on the path all these years, it's been moments of awakening and moments when I felt less inspired and maybe gone back to sleeping again. No? So we try to quicken these spiral circles of what I call circles of awakening, no? So how can we make our mind more peaceful, more empty, so that I can take advantage of this retreat in my home? Isn't it true that we all long to have more time? Yes. We tell ourselves there's just not enough time. And then plop, all of a sudden, some of us, most of us, have more time. But what do we do with this time? That's the question. So I'm here to seduce you today, seduce you to remind you that yes, we can make time for the inner world, and it is fundamental to make time for the inner world. So what exactly is a retreat? In Deep Delight, there is a text that I wrote on how to make a retreat. And I invite you, whenever you have a spare moment, to look over that text. It talks about the cycles and moments of making a retreat that we can do in our own home. Now, there for me are cycles in the retreat. What does this mean? There are cycles of death and of rebirth. Purna Janma in Sanskrit, rebirth. And in life, we constantly go through these cycles. Things that are dying in our lives, things that are changing, but there is one eternal fact and truth that we cannot deny, and that's impermanence. So the impermanence, and of course, if you want to dive into this concept, of course, the wonderful book, the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying by Sogogo Rinpoche is wonderful because he goes very deeply into these concepts of impermanence and death and rebirth. And I highly suggest, if you've read it, to reread it or have a sneaky peek at those parts. So we're looking to create cycles of death and rebirth inside of ourselves in this retreat. We want to think, what do I want to remember in this time that I had, in this awful global crisis of the COVID-19? What do I want to remember about myself or how I lived in this time? So to be able to do that, we have to somehow intensify and dynamize the consciousness. We have to get ourselves by our bootstraps and pull up those boots and decide, if I do have something valuable, which is time, what am I going to do with this time? I'm going to create a retreat for myself. Why do I want to do this? Because I want to precipitate transformation. Why do I want to transform? Because I want to see if I can go from the structures where I find myself to a higher level. I want to become more free inside of myself, in my mind, and my heart, my spirit, my life. I want to perceive freedom. I want to perceive that I'm flowing in my life. If I know that everything is in order, why is it such a struggle? Why is it such a stress? Why do I allow myself to live in anxiety? Why do I allow myself to create all of these challenges that are constantly facing us inside of ourselves? Very deep questions, my goodness. Anyway, how are we doing for now? If you want to put up your hands and shake your hands, you can, and we can shake together. I can't see any hands. There we go. There we go. That makes me happy. That's beautiful. Okay. All right. So Jung said we cannot change unless we accept. Acceptance is a fundamental part of the death and rebirth process. What does that mean, Lakshmi? If I do not accept that I'm afraid in this situation, for example, I'm talking about myself, or if I do not accept that I'm anxious about my health, my loved ones, etc., I will not be able to deal with that anxiety, to make peace with that anxiety and transcend it, okay? If I negate, if I repress, I send it to my unconscious and it stays there and it affects my mental status. And I feel nervous and I don't know why, because I'm full of these unconscious movements that I have not resolved. So acceptance is a great factor in the death and rebirth process. We have to accept our fragility to become stronger. We have to accept our perfect imperfections to be able to move towards different levels of transcendence and freedom. So acceptance, dear friends. I want you to hold in your mind now something that you know that has been bothering you in this time. Something about yourself that's been difficult for you. Okay, do you have it? Yeah? Okay. Okay, good. Now I want you to find not 50, 60, 70, or 80, or 90%. I want you to find 100%. We're going to try to go for the big guns. 100% acceptance. I accept this part of me. So let's breathe in and accept that this is inside of me. Let's accept it, breathing in. Two more times. I accept that this aspect is alive inside of me. Good. Let's feel the acceptance. Go through your consciousness. Feel it now. Accept it 100%, please. Good. Later on in the meditation, I'm going to reiterate that. With acceptance, we're able to take responsibility. Without complete acceptance, we don't take responsibility and we don't put ourselves through the death and rebirth process. Okay? Good. Okay. And secondly, how are we going to go through the rebirth? With openness. So you all are open here this evening. You made time out of your lives to come here, to be online, to participate in this moment. And the openness is really important. Openness from the inside, I would say, inner strategy. So what does that mean? Pratyahara. Pratyahara, for those of you who are part of our lineage, we're very familiar with this concept, is withdrawal from the senses. It's very interesting. So if I withdraw from the senses, I have the capability of opening on the inside of me. And in the meditation, we're going to do that together. Okay, so openness is really important. Acceptance and openness.